Grouping is a mechanic within Wuthering Waves, which may come in handy when facing the Tower of Adversary, one of this game's amazing in-game modes. When it comes to characters who can fill this role, two immediately come to mind: YangYang, the lovely free unit we get with grouping capabilities, and Jianxin, a standard character who offers the best grouping in the game along with other utilities. Yet, is Jianxin better enough to justify choosing her on the Novi Switch when a free option is available right there? Can you really justify that decision when Verena is a much more potent support, with YangYang covering all your grouping necessities, along with some mild energy utility? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. My name is Juice, and today I aim to settle the score of YangYang versus Jianxin, and decide whether our favorite underpaid minimum wage employee that fights bears is still worth choosing, even with YangYang in the picture. Thank you to the Donjin main server, specifically my good friend Sweat, for helping me with the points in the latter half of this video. Go and show them some love. I can't even pretend to imagine how long they must spend on developing their game knowledge. While you're at it, join my Discord too, we've got cookies. Links will be in the pinned comment. Without further ado, let's get into it. First, we'll begin by analyzing YangYang's kit and highlighting all the positive aspects of it. Then we will contrast this with Jianxin's kit, see what Jianxin offers that YangYang doesn't, and evaluate how useful those additional qualities really are. Then we will see which teams they fit in, how needed or replaceable they are in said teams, and whether the teams they assist are of high value or not. We've established our end goal fully. So, YangYang. Her kit primarily centers around grouping, like I said. Her skill will cause YangYang to create a whirling vortex which will gather enemies into the center of said vortex. The grouping strength of this is considerably decent. Her Resonance Liberation, aka Burst, creates a large cyclone which will have an even greater grouping effect over her skill. Great ability, easy to use and intuitive. Even her intro skill, Cerulean Song, just said the name since I think it's a cool name, deals arrow damage and springs her enemies up into the air. Her outro skill is also quite valuable. YangYang recovers 4 resonance energy per second for 5 seconds for the next character that swaps on after her. So this means YangYang has utility outside of grouping and being cute. And since YangYang is a 4-star, I'd like to highlight that her Sequence 3 increases her Windfield's pulling effect with an expanse of 33%. So with extra copies, her grouping becomes even better, though don't sweat sequences too much, we're mostly looking at S0 out of the box YangYang right now. In contrast to Jianxin, she has no defensive capabilities. Jianxin can also heal and generate shields for your team. She theoretically could play them together for a super grouping combo with a main DPS like Jian at the front and play a decent AoE team. Though note that Mortefi is gonna be a lot better than Jianxin here. This is also nice since Jian is a burst reliant character, and YangYang can swap off onto him to give him more energy. Did I cook? But if we're evaluating them separately, YangYang's ER passage is good for any kind of character who really wants their burst up. For example, Jian is a large contender. You'll mostly be using Mortefi over Jian at a late game stage, however, do note that. And YangYang can also synergize well with other units like Encore as well, who appreciate the ER given from YangYang's outro skill. She also benefits sub-DPS Sanhua, though note that if you're playing Sanhua as a main DPS, she already gets most of the ER she needs from the Moonlit Clouds Echo set. A few of her honorable mentions would be Alto, Qixia, Kalcharo if you don't run Yinlin, and perhaps Lingyang. A note about Kalcharo: for the first 3 weeks of launch, YangYang will be very useful with Kalcharo since Yinlin won't be available until then, especially since she doesn't need that much investment. And when it comes to Jianxin's grouping compared to YangYang, well, she is grouping on both her intro and alt, and is far more reliable to proc over YangYang's burst-based grouping. Jianxin is the vacuum cleaner you use for AoE content. Plus, Jianxin's burst has a much wider area of effect compared to YangYang's, so while YangYang gets the job done for sure and has mild extra benefits, Jianxin shines through when it comes to grouping capabilities, not to mention her self-heals and shielding. She can even act as a substitute to Verena if you don't have her yet, or if you get Jianxin off of the no-vice pull and do not want to choose Verena as your chosen selected standard 5-star. Super quality of life overworld character with amazing AoE for small enemies on her forte. Though it's important to note that Jianxin falls off hard in late game. She has minimal endgame presence because it's not justifiable over running Verena, who provides damage percent and attack percent, or even Baiji's hard attack percent buff. Everything will one-shot you, so sustaining falls off considerably in value. She deals subpar damage, and you will usually be fighting a single boss with hard-hitting attacks and endgame content, so there's not much points to shields and heals since you can just restart constantly until you get good. And yes, she does buff, but only buffs ultimate damage, nothing else. Meanwhile, YangYang has some in-game presence. She's in Encore's best in slot team, Encore, YangYang, and Sanhua. Plus, she's best for Qixia if you're interested in maining her. Kalchara will drop her eventually though, but if you're skipping Yinlin or lose the 50-50 to her for whatever reason, then YangYang is there. Alto can also use YangYang as she is able to compensate for that guy's big ER needs, allowing you to invest in other more important DPS stats. Encore's team is also quite high in damage potential, and YangYang is a good slot here. She'll be better than Kalchara for most people as she's easier to use than him, so YangYang has at least one very high value team. Jianxin can fit really well into a team of Rover, Sanhua, and herself, so at least she's free to play friendly in terms of team building, but she's literally just a replacement for Verena there. Any team Jianxin fits into, she is replaceable. Sadly, she is never best in slot, as Sanhua and Verena are simply too powerful. Her main use is freeing up Verena for another team in the tower when she fits in the comp well, so she's flexible, that's good. Jianxin will serve as a good hybrid support that does some damage buffing and grouping, but the fact that Wuwa's endgame is all about dodging and bosses one-shotting you means that her sustaining really does fall off later down the line, unfortunately. So what's our verdict? Well, sadly Jianxin doesn't provide anything unique that is really needed within the late game. She'll be amazing for overall quality of life, but outside of that, yeah, not much late game presence. So, if you have YangYang, should you be chasing after Jianxin to upgrade? No! YangYang is perfectly fine as is and has way more specific application than Jianxin, while still providing grouping for quality of life. She's cheap investment, and the fact that Baiji is a free healer with buffing capabilities sort of stomps Jianxin out of the meta. Not to mention that even when healing becomes obscured in late game, Baiji still has her buffs going for her and will still be useful. Not only that, but Baiji is free. And Wuthering Waves has been so generous as of late that with all the 5-star selectors we've been having, there is no way that most players will not be picking at least one Verena. She really is the type of character that you just use because you have them, or because you need something for your other team, and there's literally no better option at the minute. She is gonna get power crept very fast, I feel. I do love her design, and find Jianxin absolutely adorable. But outside of that, she really has no use cases which I totally gush over, and really, I just wanted her because I thought she was cute. And listen, I got her on my Novice wish, I'm happy to have her, and I do still in fact think that she is very adorable and I like her animations. But outside of style points, just stick with YangYang. Besides, YangYang's also pretty cute, so you can't go wrong either way. Ultimately, select Jianxin if you're into her. After all, she's adorable, and she does preside over YangYang greatly when it comes to overworld prowess. Though, on the whole, I would say that Jianxin and YangYang are just on equal footing, which is a shame considering that YangYang is free. You could argue that it's a good thing considering that a free unit is actually quite powerful, but yeah. Plus, in early game, Jianxin's multi-rolling will be highly handy. From a meta perspective, yes, YangYang will be better, she even has possible endgame presence. But hey, we'll be in early stages for at least a month, or maybe even 2. So to all my fellow Jianxin fans, let's enjoy her while we can. Hopefully this video was able to guide you on whether you should aim for Jianxin or stick with the lovely and free YangYang. This has been Juice, signing out, and as much as I adore YangYang, I simply can't turn down the cute venti of this game.